The Talon Company are a group of ruthless mercenaries who have been tasked with reaping havoc and disunity in the Capital Wasteland. But who is this mysterious third party that's paying them to do this? Because whilst at first it may appear that the Talon Company act like nothing more than a group of well-armed raiders known for slaughtering entire settlements of men, women, and children, these guys are actually an organised paramilitary outfit with a chain of command, access to heavy artillery, and a reinforced secure headquarters located in the bunkers of Fort Bannister. And with their reputation for putting caps and loot above almost anything else, there's no way they're undertaking a war in the wasteland without a backer with deep pockets paying them to do so. So today we're going to be looking into some of the groups or individuals most likely to be the dastardly evildoer bankrolling the Talon Company's exploits in the Capital Wasteland. But before we dive into these suspects, it might benefit us to take a look at the specific tasks we see Talon mercenaries undertaking in the ruins of Washington, D.C. Arguably their main goal, according to the Fallout 3 official game guide, is, quote, to hunt down do-gooders on behalf of an unknown benefactor. And whilst the reasons for this task are unclear, the effect it's had is to keep the wasteland a lawless and disorganised place, where the guys with the biggest guns make the rules. As part of this task, the Talon Company mercs are contracted to hunt down the Lone Wanderer if they have a positive karma rating. And it's worth noting that this contract isn't unique to the Lone Wanderer. It applies to anyone seeking to make the wasteland a more united and safe place. Further steps taken by this group to weaken the wasteland include the raiding of supply lines carrying goods meant to help impoverished people throughout the wastes, as seen when Talon Company mercs raid Aquapura water caravans and kidnap the Brotherhood of Steel Knights guarding them. We also see these guys taking part in something that seems a bit more altruistic and at odds with the previously mentioned goal of spreading chaos. I'm talking about the large-scale military actions that we see the Talon Company mercenaries engaged in against super mutants. It would appear that the mercs have been hired to combat and eradicate super mutants at various locations in DC, including Tacoma Park and the Capitol building. Now you'd assume that most self-serving mercenaries would not be involved in such dangerous military actions without getting paid quite handsomely in return. So beside Todd Howard himself, who actually hired the Talon Company to act as their personal anarchists and exterminators within the ruins of Washington, D.C., who stands to gain from the chaos these mercs cause, or their actions in eradicating super mutants? And who has pockets deep enough to fund an army of mercenaries waging a war on their behalf in the Capital Wasteland? One initial candidate that springs to mind is Alistair Tenpenny and his associate Mr. Burke. We already know he has affiliations with the Talon Company group, having hired them to kill the Lone Wanderer should they choose to save the town of Megaton rather than destroy it. As a quick side note though, it's worth noting that this assassination interaction, in which Tenpenny hired Talon mercs to attempt to kill the Lone Wanderer, is different to the other times in which the Talon Company hunt down the Lone Wanderer, as usually they hunt them for being a generic do-gooder. But in this instance, the mercs have been hired by Tenpenny on a specific contract to hunt down and kill the Lone Wanderer. Despite the facade, however, there are questions as to whether Tenpenny could actually afford to bankroll the Talon Company's adventures in DC. After all, he is essentially just a guy who's stumbled across a luxury tower and declared himself the owner. I can't really see the luxury post-apocalyptic hotel trade bringing in the big bucks, especially when they're so selective with their clientele. And other than this prior affiliation with the group, there's not much more reason to believe Tenpenny is the secretive backer of the Talon Company. As what does he really have to gain from a chaotic wasteland? Tenpenny just wants to live a comfy life separated from the rabble in the wastes. And it's not like the super mutants have ever ventured out of central DC to bother his precious tower, so what need would he have to eradicate them? The main argument, however, in my opinion, against Tenpenny being the Talon Company backer, is that if he did hold such sway over these mercs, he would be seen utilising their services much more, by having them act as security for Tenpenny Tower, dealing with his whole Roy Phillips Ghoul problem, or even just straight up sending them into Megaton to blow it up. Another potential backer is Daniel Littlehorn of Littlehorn and Associates. Little is actually known about Littlehorn and this mysterious organisation, other than that they are already involved within the contract killing industry, and that they pursue a similar goal to the Talon Company, with Littlehorn paying contract killers to bring him the mutilated ears of good people within the wasteland. Could Littlehorn be paying the mercenaries as he does with various other elusive contract killers in his employ? Potentially, but in my opinion, unlikely, as whilst they may have some similar goals, Littlehorn and Associates seem to prefer working from the shadows, with operatives hiding within plain sight. And personally, I just can't see this group, housed in their small shack in a scrapyard, paying the contract for an entire mercenary organisation. I think it's more likely that Talon and Littlehorn are both working to achieve the same goal, for a much larger organisation. And that organisation, in my opinion, is the Enclave. As a large, powerful organisation that self-proclaims to be the continuation of the US government, they certainly have access to the funds and equipment required to set the Talon Company loose on the Capital Wasteland. But why would they do that? What do they have to gain, I hear you ask? Good questions. Well, by hiring the Talon Company, the Enclave were able to keep the Capital Wasteland in a state of permanent disarray, and as a result, help stop towns such as Rivet City or groups such as the Brotherhood of Steel from becoming too powerful. All whilst the Enclave kept their hands clean of the Talon Company's dirty work, allowing them to remain hidden in their strongholds of Adams Air Force Base and Raven Rock, rebuilding their supply of weapons, technology, and troops following their defeat at the end of Fallout 2. Then, when the moment is right, the Enclave would be able to swoop in, take advantage of the fractured wasteland, and capture Project Purity, which would allow them to complete their goal of purging the wasteland of mutants. This would also go some way to explaining why the Talon Company have been hired to eradicate super mutants from DC, as the Enclave would see these mutant abominations prowling the streets and buildings of their nation's once great capital as a great offence, so the Talon Mercs' efforts at clearing out the super mutants would allow Enclave forces to establish a foothold in the DC ruins and continue to purge the foul mutants out of the nation's great monuments, serving as a powerful propaganda victory for the nationalistic group. A couple of other unlikely backers include the Institute, who could be seeking to destabilise the DC area, and the growing Brotherhood of Steel faction, as well as any railroad activity in the area that involves their escaped synths. Perhaps it's Vault Tech for no other reason than this mysterious group are probably out there somewhere in the wasteland, up to no good. Or maybe it's just Moira Brown, funding the ruthless mercs to keep the Vault Dweller on their toes, in order to provide better research for her Wasteland Survival Guide. No matter who's backing them though, the Talon Company appear to still be working out of the wasteland to some degree after the events of Fallout 3. And depending on whether you count the content of Bethesda's Creation Club as canon lore, I doubt many of you do, the Fallout 4 Creation Club Edition Capital Wasteland Mercenaries allows the sole survivor of Fallout 4 to travel to the Galaxy News radio station in the Capital Wasteland and help defend the site from an attack by the Talon Company, who have been hired to capture the station and eliminate a group inspired by the legendary Free Dog known as the Good Fighters. What do you think? There's no official answer yet as to who the mysterious Talon Company backer is, so I guess it's up to our imaginations. Let me know your theories in the comments down below, and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon for more lore. Catch you next time.